Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. Basically, out of all of the rumors that always go around with the Royal Rumble, the biggest Royal Rumble surprises each and every year are who are the surprise returns to the Royal Rumble. It's sort of what has made the Royal Rumble into one of the coolest events of the year. Definitely having one match with 30 names inside of it. WWE has a big enough roster to fill this up on its own, but definitely surprises this year will be coming from people from NXT, much like when Rusev came up to the main roster to be a part of the Royal Rumble. They don't ever really tell you the storyline of how this guy got his Royal Rumble ball, whether if he beat somebody up in the back. It was sort of a surprise because it was rumored that Rusev would be joining the main roster, but he didn't really have his intro, he didn't have Lana, and he didn't even make an impact on WWE's main roster for months. I believe they didn't bring him back up to the main roster until after WrestleMania, but he did get that little rub from being there. Of course, Bo Dallas won the NXT Battle Royal at the Royal Rumble festivities the day before in order to qualify for the Royal Rumble a few years ago as well. But it's always fun when you see people that are, outside of WWE for the most part, getting to have their moment in the sun, returning to the Royal Rumble, even if it's just for the magic of the big three. For DDP, he always talks about he doesn't like to do wrestling shows where he wrestles anymore. He believes that people just wants to see the entrance, they want to see the promo, and they want to see the finisher. They don't really care about anything else. So basically what DDP does is he does his introduction where he comes down to the ring, he comes down, he does a little square off, battling back and forth for the promo, and then he ends it all with the diamond cutter. Everybody goes home happy and nobody feels like they got ripped off. So, in the past we've seen DDP, we've seen, Diesel make a career out of having these returns. We've seen the announcers get into the fun. It's always fun and leaves you with a long list of people. But for this year's Royal Rumble, I've got a list of, I believe, 7 people who I think are going to be returning. Some of these have been rumors that you've seen out there, and some of these are just picked out of the middle of nowhere. Triple H is the odds-on favorite to win the Royal Rumble this year. If you go to Vegas and you try to place a bet, or if you go to one of the places that does take gambling wagers on wrestling, Triple H looks to be the main guy. It's rumored to see whether he will change the game and make it like I've heard people say that he'll come in number 31, or if he'll just grab lucky number 27 or something like that, and he'll come down to there. I would love to see Triple H win the Rumble in a suit. That would be my big thing. Undertaker, who has had a big year inside of WWE, of course, coming back at Battleground, wrestling at SummerSlam, wrestling at Hell in a Cell, and forgettably wrestling at Survivor Series. Why he would not come back for the Royal Rumble? His entrance would definitely gain a lot of people like buzzing and definitely be trending on Twitter in no time. And he would add name recognition to the Rumble, putting it over the top by being in there. I mean, if the spot's going to be either Undertaker or Bo Dallas, of course, Undertaker being there, when you think about all of the cool moments of the Royal Rumble, it's going to put it over the top. And especially if you have it where he is eliminated by somebody inside of the Rumble, and he's not able to achieve his dream of trying to become champion going into WrestleMania in his home state, definitely would kick it up a notch when you think about Undertaker's WrestleMania match. Nobody wants to see a rerun of Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt at a WrestleMania 31, a match that really... It had build up because Bray was calling this guy out week after week, but Undertaker never even showed up until WrestleMania, which sort of made the match not have the same appeal as other people would think. The next guy on the list is Sting. There's going to be a couple guys on this list that are out with injuries, and we don't really know what's going on with Sting. He's sort of a private person. He doesn't really tweet out about things, and he's only done a few podcasts. He hasn't even done the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, but on the Ric Flair podcast, basically said that due to the injury from the Seth Rollins match, he is going to have neck surgery. He doesn't know when that's going to be. Some people have thought that he's already done it. Some people think he's pushing it back, trying to do it, if he's going to be able to he doesn't want to be put on the shelf for a while, is basically what he's saying. And maybe he's looking for a second opinion to see if he really needs it. But I know that Sting is doing autograph sessions in March, and then in April. Sting is a part of WrestleMania Access. Sting is a part of going into the Hall of Fame this year. He already got a big moment in the sun, taking on Rollins, trying to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, trying to cross that off the list. But who knows if Sting will try to poke his nose into the Royal Rumble, trying to see if Sting wants to become WWE Champion this way at the Royal Rumble. He definitely would be a big name to get in there. Daniel Bryan is a guy that has to get medical testing. He's been trying to get cleared for months. It's been on the shelf for about 9 months now, since right after WrestleMania 31 when he became the Royal Rumble. No, I'm sorry, when he won the Intercontinental Champion. Definitely last year when he made his return to the Royal Rumble, everybody was thinking that we were going to see Daniel Bryan Part 2 of him going to WrestleMania 31 to fight for the championship against Brock Lesnar. That's something that we were supposed to get the year beforehand, with Bryan putting the championship on the line against John Cena at SummerSlam. But due to the injury with his neck and his arm, we weren't able to get that match. So I know that everybody wants to see Bryan come back. It might not happen due to the injury problems, and there's a rumor out on the street that he went to UCLA to get some medical testing, which he did pass his test, which would be the second doctor in order to say that he would be able to return to wrestling. But WWE still needs to get their official doctor to put it on record saying that he is able to return before he will be able to. Next guy on the list is a guy that probably won't happen because of the rumor of X-Pac having hepatitis, and it's something they don't let you wrestle with inside of his WWE. But X-Pac has basically said that he's healthy now and that he wishes he could have one more moment in the sun in WWE. He's always one of those guys they call for the DX reunions or the Click reunions or old school Raws and things like that. He's always one of the guys on the list. They always bring him back. He's always a name that gets a response when he comes out there, whether if you love this guy or you hate this guy. He is a really cool dude. But X-Pac, more than likely, I think, is not going to happen. But if he did have a Rumble thing, it wouldn't be much. You just have to have, that X-Pac, make some noise. They can even play the DX theme, and he comes running down to that. He wouldn't even have to be in the Rumble that long. Anybody in the world could bump this guy out, and I think people would just remember getting to see X-Pac one more time. I know that when X-Pac was in TNA with the band, once it got out that he had hepatitis, I can't remember if he failed medical testing or if he just came out and said it. He was really fastly dropped from the TNA roster, so it may just be a fact that he will never be able to wrestle ever again, and that's just the way it is. Next one on the list is Kurt Angle. I don't know the date of when Kurt Angle's TNA contract ends. He is going to wrestle against Bobby Lashley, which is supposed to be, put out there as his last TNA match. He has said that once he leaves TNA, when his contract expires, he's not looking to get into wrestling sooner than later. But who knows? Kurt Angle is somebody that has said 1,000 times that he wants to have his last match in WWE. He wants to wrestle at a WrestleMania again. There's been stories out there of WWE having no interest in this guy, maybe thinking that he couldn't pass a WWE physical. One thing leads to another, but Kurt was calling WWE just a few years ago trying to get a job to leave TNA, and they wouldn't even return his phone calls. So I'm not sure how that really is with Triple H being in charge of talent relations and bringing guys in like this. He's been pretty smart to know that, give guys that one last moment in the sun. He's been able to go out and get guys like Bruno Sammartino, guys like Sting, that have always, been on the record basically saying that they never wanted to be with WWE. Here's a guy wrestling for another company, very strongly using words, I want my retirement to be with WWE. That's where I want my last match to be. He's gone on record saying that he wanted his last match to be called by Jim Ross, and he said 1,000 things. And when Sting's TNA contract ended, we had to wait a whole year almost before we got to see Sting inside of WWE. Maybe Kurt Angle has to get out, get the smell off of him, and then he can go in. to WWE and have that last moment in the sun. There's lots of rumors of him being used at the Performance Center or him being used one way or another. But Angle is definitely a rumored name with his contract coming up to be a part of the Royal Rumble this Sunday. And last but not least, I saw this on a rumor page. I didn't really give it a whole lot of thought to it, but Santino was on the Fight Network with John Pollock, where he did an interview this week basically talking about his fighting career is done. Him getting back into WWE would be a miracle. He has pitched the idea of trying to be the SmackDown GM or trying to do something with WWE that way where they could keep him on board. He loves wrestling. He has his gym that Ravi and Justin have gone to for day in the life videos, meeting Ric Flair, and I think they just recently went there and they met Maria. I think this is where that was when they had a show there. But Santino said in this interview that basically he had a screw loose from his injury, not in his head, but in his neck. And, basically he had to go in and get it fixed before things got really, really bad for him. But Santino could easily do what Mick Foley did a few years ago, where Santino and Mick Foley did the Cobra versus the Sock Exchange, something like that. Just sort of comedy where he gets into the ring and the fall from the ring to the floor could be very easy for him and maybe he wouldn't get hurt. But I don't know. They seem like they don't really want any physical contact with anybody who's injured at the time, even though Wade Barrett is getting into the ring doing sort of 8-man tags with the League of Nations. So we'll have to see. That's the list of possible returns for this year's Royal Rumble. Of course, the big one that was left off this list is AJ Styles because of how slam dunk that one looks to be, that it's just Styles is going to be in it. So you can add that and make one more onto the list. But we'll see what's going down with the Royal Rumble and the surprise returns this Sunday on the WWE Network.